What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Auto Auction Rebuilds. Today, we are back with the Chevy Impala. I don't even remember what year it is. It's like a 2006 or 2008 Chevy Impala SS. The LS4 5.3 liter transversely mounted front-wheel drive V8. We bought it for a song and a dance. It was like $2,800 or something like that. Stupid cheap money. Needs a couple little things. We're going to try to address them in this video. Get this car to the point where I feel mechanically it is done and ready to go, and I don't know. Maybe we're going to sell it, or maybe we're going to hold on to it. But if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know that I always want to keep everything, and I absolutely never keep anything. Not ever. Every time I intend to keep something, I end up sending it down the road. So I got this from Copart for really cheap because it had some very slight hail damage. And I'm not talking like 1,000 tiny dents. I'm talking like maybe on the whole car, there's 10, maybe 12 dings on the entire car. It's really not bad. I'm kind of surprised that they dumped it over this. There is a ding here. There is a ding here, and there's another one right here. So there's 3, and that's all I can see right there. On this side, I have only found 1 ding, and it is right here. You guys are going to be hard-pressed to see it, but it's so tiny. You probably won't be able to see that one. The roof and everything looks relatively good too. There's another ding right here. We're counting them as we go, guys. And there's 2 right here. We're getting to the end, guys. Like the trunk, there is 1 right here. And I mean, I'm really having to look at this car to find these dents. Now, I know there are 2 right here, side by side, 1 right here. I could have swore there was a tiny one somewhere up there, right there. There it is. All right. And if I remember correctly, that was it. That was, yeah. Oh, and then this one right here, which is not from hail damage. It's from something else. Oh, wait a minute. Right there. Again, you guys probably aren't going to be able to see it. They are so minor, guys. That's it. Like, there's your damage, and thus why it was sent to the auction and sold for next to nothing. It's got 170,000 miles on it, and I bought it not knowing if this thing had a transmission or not, but I figured it was probably okay because Carfax showed that this vehicle's had regular services, including the transmission, its entire life, close to every 30,000 miles since new. So we got the car, we got it running, we got it driving, and there's no issues. We had to recharge the air conditioning. I have not touched this car in weeks, and I'm happy to say that I was able to fire it up today, and the air conditioning was still on from when I left it on before, and it's still ice cold. Still ice cold air conditioning. So the AC is still working fine. The battery took a charge and is still holding. So there's only a few things that really need to be addressed on this car for me to feel good about, well, either keeping it and driving it or sending it down the road. And that is underneath this fancy engine cover. There we go. Let's reveal this massive 305 horsepower LS4 V8. It needs just a few minor things, guys. I've got 8 spark plugs for it. I've got 8 plug wires. I've got a new air filter, even though I don't know if it needs it, and a new cabin air filter. Again, I don't know if it needs it. Just figured it would be good to go ahead and change those out while we're in here. So the front is obviously going to be really easy. These coil packs are super cool because they actually all come off as an assembly. You unclip 4 of these, take this, disconnect this, and I don't think there's a bolt under there. This one, and all of your coil packs come off as an assembly. Then you can change out your spark plugs and reinstall. Now, we are going to be doing the valve cover gaskets on this as well, and I've never done one on these engines. Now, the front, everything looks super easy. It's when we get to the back that I start questioning my decision on this car. It's number one, it's dark back there. We got some hoses here that are in the way, but it looks like we just moved those out of the way. Can we do this with the alternator still installed? I don't know, but I sure hope so. So I guess what we're going to start with is the front. It's super easy to get to. It's covered in grime. We have massive valve cover gasket leak. Here are my new spark plugs, AC Delco Iridiums. These are part number, what are they? 41-162. We've got our air filter, cabin air filter, and then over here are our spark plug wires, AC Delco 9748RR. And then behind all of this, we have our new valve cover gaskets with grommets. These are Felpro VS50504R-1. So we got everything we need. All we got to do is get started. And I'm enjoying this weather. It's getting dark outside, but it's like 59 degrees out here today. I don't need my air conditioners running. I got my doors open, and it feels great. Let me grab some tools. Looks like we're going to start probably with you know, a ratchet, couple extensions, spark plug socket, and definitely an extension and maybe a 10 mil. Yeah, that should be it to get started. So, moment of truth. We took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think this whole thing just pulls right up. I'm not an LS guy. This is, yeah, wow, look how easy that is. I shouldn't have said that. That's, that is way too easy. So, wow, I might have to become an LS guy at some point, guys. This was actually really phenomenally easy. Now, the backside, let's bite our tongues until we get back there. But it looks like this front valve cover, number one, I'm going to need to get my shop back. There's a lot of this wiring loom that has just, well, it's come apart over all these years. I want to get all of this. Let's get all of this out of here. Let's clean this up before we get into it. There's a hose here that I'm going to need to detach. Looks like it just pops right off from there. And at this point, those look like 8s. What are they? Just 1, 2, 3, 4? 4 8mm? And this whole thing should come off. And then hopefully these plug wires come off easily. Let's reach down here and see if we can pop these off. Nope. Well, yep, that's going to take a little bit of work. We'll get it done, though. All right, we got everything off, and now it should just be a matter of pulling the valve cover right off the engine. I cleaned everything out as best I could. Oh, look how clean that engine is. Very nice. We'll sit this down. Oh, I'm so happy to see that. Look how clean everything is in there. So even though the outside is a little bit dirty, the inside of this motor is absolutely beautiful. Okay, I'm really happy. I'm really happy because on the outside, it's a tad bit grimy. So I guess now what I got to do is I got to pull the back ones off, get these spark plugs out, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. I've got my magnetic spark plug socket, and it doesn't look like it's going to be too big of a deal to get down in here with a small extension. Get each one of these out, at least, again, on the front. It looks like it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think before I tackle the back, I think I'm going to go ahead and take these spark plugs out. Then we'll take the valve covers once we get the other one off. We'll take the valve covers and we'll spray some super clean on them, soak them for a little bit, pressure wash them, and then everything should be clean and ready to go back together. So far, I'm not going to say it because I just know that that back cylinder head is going to be a nightmare. All right, well, you saw we had the front done, but now if you move back here to the rear, you can see we have it done as well. If you can get under all of this mess. I've got all 8 of the spark plugs out, all 8 plug wires, both valve covers, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you're ever thinking about tackling this job and you're intimidated by it, don't be. Take your time. That's the biggest thing. This is not complicated. It's not hard. It's just time consuming. You need to move pretty slow and just watch what you're doing. Be very careful that you're not breaking anything under the hood. Both valve covers came off, like the back one was just the same as the front one. It's just in a little bit tighter of a space because you got the firewall back there. But here's all the tools that I used. And the only reason I used this was just to speed up the process of removing the rear spark plugs. Those were a pain. There's no room for my ratchet in a lot of them to move side to side. Whereas this, I can just push the button And I just used it to undo them, and I'll probably use it to put them back in as well. I will absolutely cheat on that. Overall, though, not a big deal. Everything is off. Everything is taken out. It's just a matter of putting it all back together again. So here's the plugs that came out of the rear head, and I know this doesn't come out very good, so why don't I put a picture of it right here. All right, so that's the rear plugs. They look bad. They look bad, that's for sure. But what looks even worse, to my surprise, was the front spark plugs, guys. Here are the front spark plugs, and again, I know you can't see them, so let me throw a picture up right here. All right, there's your front plugs, and here's what it's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? See that nice tight gap right there? Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like, and that is not what... The rest of them are way out. In fact, why don't I grab, let me see if I can find my spark plug gapper. And let's take a look and see just how far out these things actually are. All right, so I got my spark plug gapper out, and I'm a little shocked. This is 0.080, 80 thousandths. 80 thousandths on one of the old plugs. I can promise you that's not right. My guess was somewhere between 30 and 50,000. So we'll take a new plug, and give me just a second to throw this on here, and we'll see what it comes out to. And just like I suspected, we're at about 42 thousandths on the new plug. That's a big difference. And here's another thing. If you notice, all of these front and back are Autolite XPs, except for one. This one right here, which just so happens to be the only one that still looks like it has any type of a reasonable gap. It's still far too wide, but it's surprising that this car was running as good as it was. Now that we got these fresh plugs, we can put these in here, some new plug wires, clean up these valve covers, put some new gaskets on them. I think this thing's going to look good. I'm going to take the valve covers outside, and I'm going to grab me some of my favorite product in the world. Again, thank you to Super Clean for continuing to support the channel by sending us tons and tons of their products. This stuff is great. Personally, I mean, I love the aerosol, but I find myself regularly just using this full strength. I don't dilute it or anything. I hit it, man. So I'm going to take my Super Clean. We're going to hit these valve covers, and hopefully when we come back with very little scrubbing, and I was going to drag out a pressure washer, but it's 8 o'clock at night. It's dark out. I'm probably not going to drag out a pressure washer. I'm just going to hit it with some Super Clean and spray it with a water hose, and hopefully when we come back, this one's the worst, the front one. That one's pretty bad. Let's see what kind of magic Super Clean can work on these valve covers. All right, after about 20 minutes of Super Clean and a light brush, I took one of my wheel brushes and just kind of agitated the Super Clean into all of the grease. Take a look at this. These things almost look brand new. They're not quite perfect, but they are really, really good considering these things were so horrible when we pulled them off. Take a look at that. Take a look underneath. I've already got the new Felpro gaskets installed, and I've got the new grommets installed right here in the middle. And yeah, so we should have no more leaks. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and put these valve covers on. And once I get the valve covers on, I'm going to move on to putting the spark plugs in. I want to do the valve covers first, even though I may have, I don't know, an extra ½ inch of clearance with the valve cover off. I'm going to go ahead and put them on because I don't want to risk anything getting into the valve train. And you can see these looms are coming apart. So I'm going to double check everything real quick, make sure nothing's fallen in. We're going to put the valve covers on, and then I'll move on to installing the new spark plugs. I got a feeling when we're done, this thing is going to run cherry. All right, with our fresh valve covers installed and torqued down, that's the nicest part of the car, to be honest with you. Everything else looks kind of nasty. You can barely see that one down there. Both valve covers are on. Now it's time to move on to the spark plugs. I've got them divided up, 4 here, 4 here. I'm debating on whether I want to start with the front, which is obviously really easy, or go ahead and tackle the back and get the hardest part out of the way first. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the backs, just because I want to get the hardest part done. Once those are installed, then I can work on changing over these old spark plug wires. They have these heat sinks on them. That's what these aluminum pieces are on the ends. They just pop right off, at least they're supposed to. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. There we go. They pop right off like this, and you just transfer these over to your new spark plug wires, and then we can throw all these away. Then we can button everything up, and then we can attempt to start it, see if it runs. We'll still change that air filter here in just a minute. And this is loose. Look at this. Definitely want to make sure these are tightened up before we go any further. So let me get these spark plugs in. I think we're about ready to button this thing up, and we are close to being able to fire it up. I'll bet it runs great, because it ran decent before. Not great, but it ran decent. With some fresh plugs, fresh wires, fresh air filter, I think this thing is going to run like an absolute top. Well, we're getting closer, guys. So far, everything has gone back together just the way it came apart. Nothing has broken. I should cross my fingers when I say that. We do have a little traveler that came to visit us. Looks like a, I don't even know what you call those, a walking stick. Praying mantis. That's what he is, praying mantis. I think that's what he is. Is he dead? Oh, he's dead. That's weird. I swear he wasn't there earlier, so he came from somewhere and died. So I've got all 8 spark plugs in, and I'm going to tell you the hardest spark plug to do on this, you would think it'd be over here, right? It's not, because on the rear cylinder head, the spark plugs are angled this way. On the front cylinder head, the spark plugs are angled this way. All right? So the hardest one to do on the front is this one. The hardest one to do on the back is that one, way over there. That is just the most difficult one to get to. But we got all 8 plugs in. We got the new valve covers on, new gaskets, new grommets, and now it's time to put our new fancy spark plug wires on. I've already shot some dielectric grease into each one of them. I'm going to simply take each one of these off of the old one and just slide it right onto the new one. And the best part about these is they're all the same. You know what I mean? They're all the same size. They're all the same length. There's no mixing them up. You just throw your coil packs on, boom, plug them in, and you're done. It should be that simple, which means we are just one step closer to being able to fire this thing up. Well, we've got her almost all buttoned back up, and the only battle wound I have is a cut on my knuckle. I'm going to say that's not bad, considering how tight the spaces are under here, how difficult some of this stuff is to get to. One cut on my knuckle, not bad at all. Here's the air filter we just pulled out. Definitely pretty rough. Doesn't look like a very good quality filter either. Take a look at the new one. Look how the difference between these two. Sorry for the flickering light. It's my LED light, but we're going to go ahead and throw this Ultra Power part number 49115, made in China. We're going to throw this in here real quick. And then I'm going to try to find the cabin air filter. I got a feeling if we can find it, it's probably never been changed. So now that we've got everything buttoned up, except for one thing that I just remembered. Totally forgot that this was loose. I want to go ahead and make sure this is fully seated. And then we'll take our screwdriver here and tighten this clamp up. We'll go ahead and check the other clamp while we're over here, just to be sure everything is good and tight. You don't want air leaking past the mass airflow sensor, or you're going to get, oh yeah, it's not tight either. There we go. You could get some drivability issues. So our cabin air filter should be hiding behind this. So pull back this weather stripping to expose this whole piece right here. There's a clip. I just used a flathead and popped it out right there. Coming on down, there's another one right there. Pop that out. And then we should be able to lift this up and start moving it out of the way. I say should. Easier said than done. There we go. Got my little tool in there to kind of angle this thing. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's nice. Let's just move this whole thing out of the way. There should be another plastic piece down here, right here. We'll move this out of the way. And there is the magic cabin air filter in all of its nastiness. So, old one. Yeah, and new one. I'll take this any day of the week. And it looks like you just kind of finagle it down in here, I guess. Good luck. This is probably going to be... Oh, it's not that bad. I shouldn't have said that. Come on. You know, it's easier when you're not holding a camera. There we go. There we go. Come on. Get in there. There it is. There it is. nice, sitting in its little home. Then we take everything else and we put it back exactly the way it came off, which if you can remember that, well, you're probably better than me. You guys thought I was gonna cheat, do it without you and put it in wrong, didn't you? I got it. There's little clips here, little tabs. They mount right below the windshield, and it sits this right here. And you gotta be careful how you situate this, because this is a drain. It actually goes down to that hole right there. So you wanna make sure that is mounted properly. Then you should be able to take this and just kind of move this completely back into place, exactly the way it came back out. You got some weather stripping under here that's got to go under the windshield. This is just so much fun, guys. So much fun to change a stupid filter, right? Get everything situated back the way it came out. Put your clips back in, and you know, try not to scream or cuss too much, especially if you're on camera, because if you do, people will get really angry and they'll unsubscribe from your channel. And just like that, well, it is 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. That's what I'm doing on my weekends, guys. I hope you guys are having more fun on your weekend than I'm having on mine. I'm out here wrenching on cars, making video content. So it's the moment of truth. I'm going to open the door. That way we don't die of carbon monoxide poisoning. Oh, you know what? This car doesn't have any gas. Wait till you see the gas gauge, guys. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, this car has no gas, absolutely none. I got 5 gallons in the house. I'll probably have to go get it and bring it out here. And I forgot the keys. Yeah, found them. Now we should be able to give it a start. It's got enough gas to fire up, but I don't think it has enough gas to go anywhere. Take a look at the gauges. Gasket literally underneath the E, man. It's really, really out. There it is. Oh, that sounds good. Every time I would start it from cold, it would misfire for a while. Like, it would just sit there misfiring, you know, pop, 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 pop. Well, it's not completely out of gas. I guess it's slightly above the red. Yeah, before all of this, when I first started it up, it liked to just sit and misfire for a little while, and it'd clear up. It always cleared up. It had to sit there and kind of chug along for a minute, you know, and you know, after a little while, once temperature started to come up, cleared right up. But as you can see, this thing's purring like a kitten now. Look at that engine. You could balance a nickel on that engine, man. Quiet as a mouse. No, I did not take carb cleaner and clean up the manifolds, any of that stuff. I cleaned up everything as best I could, but when it comes to the manifold and stuff, I'm going to let heat do its job, you know. Once everything's warmed up and up to operating temperature, any oil left over is going to burn off, and then there should be no more. So that leaves me wondering, what should I do with this car? Man, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I really don't know what to do with it. It's a cool car. It's something you don't see a whole lot of anymore, right? Because, well, let's face it, the transmissions aren't exactly known for their reliability. I don't think the engines are either. So it's definitely a car for somebody that's looking for something different. And there's probably not a whole lot of people that are out there going, man, I need to get my hands on a 5.3 front-wheel drive Chevy Impala. No, I don't expect there's a lot of people saying that. Why don't, oh, you know what else I forgot to do? Hold up. I totally forgot about this. This silly thing is really annoying. And I'm assuming if you pop this cover off, there's some screws under here. I've got a brand new one of these we can put on, and this won't cause us any trouble anymore. All right, it's getting late. I'm ready to get out of here. See if I can not run into my shop on the way out. There we go. Easy does it. We'll take it out for just a quick ride, and we'll see how it does. Now, like I said, it ran great before, after it warmed up. You know, after it warmed up, it ran and drove great. It was just the initial startup was not very impressive. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be a lot better. Now, I can already tell a ton of difference just firing it up as smooth as it's running. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. No way. Okay. Yeah. That is night and day difference there, guys. Wow. This thing gets up. It's only 300 horsepower. I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to sit here and be like, wow, this is Hellcat power. Obviously, that's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying that, wow, a V8 in a front wheel drive with 300 horsepower, there's a lot of torque steer. When you get going, you better grip onto that steering wheel, man. So I'm curious to see what kind of gas mileage I can get over just a few mile ride. I'm not gonna drag you guys along with me for the whole trip. We're just gonna get on the road. We're gonna get it up to speed. I'm gonna try to go for, I think I got enough gas to do my 10-mile run. And I'm just curious to see if I'm not smashing on it like I just did. You know, if I'm gentle with it, drive it like a normal person, what kind of fuel economy we can get out of this now that it's got a fresh tune-up. So far, we're at 12 miles a gallon. And climbing, hopefully, 51 degrees outside. It's a little bit chilly. So we're doing 60 miles an hour. I'm gonna run this thing about 10 miles. We'll come back and see what the fuel economy looks like. Well, we made it. And I don't know what the original fuel economy in this car was supposed to be, but, oh, come on. We don't wanna see that. We wanna see the fuel mileage. Right there, 25.7 and dropping, of course, because I'm sitting here idling. 25.7 miles a gallon is what we did over a 10-mile trip. Like I said, I don't know what the original fuel economy was, but that for a V8, that is really, really good. So we currently have 170,000 miles on the odometer of this 2006 Chevy Impala. I'm probably going to go ahead and leave it in the shop because I just don't feel like taking it out and parking it. What to do next with this car, I really don't know. I guess we could pop the hood. I can smell a little, maybe a little residual oil working its way out of the, or off, I should say, of the manifolds. But normally, if we'd take this car out for a drive, there'd be smoke. You guys saw when we first started this car, there was a plume of smoke coming up into the shop. It was really, really bad. So, you know, it wouldn't hurt if I took this car and pressure washed it. I think that would do it a lot of good. Get super clean all over the engine, let it soak, pull out the pressure washer, and really just hammer hard on this thing, especially in the front here and the back where the manifolds are, where there's oil all over the place. So I'm looking at everything. I don't see anything leaking. I mean, it would be hard to tell with all the oil that's all over this. But like I said before, we had tons of smoke, and now there's none. You can just smell the residual oil kind of burning off the manifolds. I am very happy with the way this car came out, and I just don't know what to do with it from here. You know, do we send it to Mako and have them put a fresh coat of paint on it? Maybe throw some new headlights on it. These are kind of rough. Maybe put some new headlights on it, have them patch up the dents, sand it down, and shoot it with a fresh coat of paint. Make it look like new again. We could absolutely do that. I don't know how much that would charge, how much Mako would charge me to do that, but we could do that for sure. Get the interior cleaned up. It's got good tires. It runs great. Drives great. Maybe service the transmission as a safety precaution. I can't recommend to you guys enough. If you've got one of these, whether it's the Monte Carlo SS or the Impala SS, you got that front wheel drive V8, I highly recommend you take exceptional care of that transmission. Change the fluid as often as you can. And these cars might just last you a long time. So we could go through all of that, and I guess that'd be a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, I'd have me a really nice Impala SS, and I've always wanted one. And then it could sit here for the rest of its life, because God knows I probably will only drive it on rare occasions. Or I could send it down the road. Obviously, I need to clean it up. It's pretty dirty. We could make it look decent and send it down the road and probably not make any money off of it at all. So right there are our two options. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of either one. So another day, another project, almost complete. As far as the mechanicals are concerned, this car is about as done as I expected it to be. And I can't tell you guys enough how happy I am with the car. I've always wanted one. I've never had one. And I know it seems crazy, right? Like who comes out and says, you know, I really wanted, my whole life, I've wanted a front wheel drive 5.3 liter Impala SS. Nobody comes out and says that. Well, I do, because I like the weird stuff, man. I like the oddball things, the unique, different things. These things, in my opinion, are still a lot of fun and relevant today if you're into this kind of stuff. Which, if you're watching this video, you probably are one of those. You're just like me. You like the quirky, the strange, unique, different type of vehicles. You know, somebody, I can't remember who it is, but somebody's slogan on YouTube is, life's too boring to drive normal cars. And I'm like, yes, that's why I like to mix it up. I like to have a mixed bag of cars out here. You just never know what I'm going to pick up, and you never know what I'm going to be driving. It makes my life a lot more interesting and relatively enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you could do me a solid and drop a comment below this video, tell me what you think we should do. Like, should we go through with getting it painted and getting the dings sorted out so that the car looks almost as good as it did when it rolled off the showroom floor? Or do you think we should let it go, sell it to somebody that can use it and enjoy it and have themselves a nice Impala SS, and we could put a few dollars back in the bank and move on to some different content? Honestly, today, right now, it could go either way. I wouldn't be upset to see it go to a good home, and I wouldn't be upset to keep it and enjoy it every now and then when I get the opportunity to drive it. I'm just curious what you guys think, so drop those comments below. Here's what I'm going to do. Thumbs up for keep it and continue. Thumbs down to dump it and move on. How's that? Is that easier? If you don't feel like commenting, you just hit that thumbs up button and say, let's continue with the project, or you can thumbs down it and say, dump it and let's move on. Subscribe to the channel while you're at it. If you're not already subscribed, I'd truly appreciate it. Till next time, stay safe out there, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon in the next one.